Mama's been hurting, 'cause Daddy's been down. Ain't nobody been working since the mill left town. They got two youngins, not 10 years old, with $200 left in his billfold. And a week's worth of groceries is the price of gold when your whole damn country's been bought and sold. Never there's been hard times, it's always made hard folks who could get her to the other side and not let it be all she wrote. I'd love to live to be an old man, but God, you can take me a young one. Just don't let the land I love die so young. Of thee I sing, I've been flying low in my troubled mind. Get to digging me a hole my soul can't climb. So it's the end of the world, nobody knows, as they all just stare at the trash on their phones in a land that's littered with many men's bones who died fighting for somewhere they could call home. Whenever there's been hard times, it's always made hard folks who could get her to the other side and not let it be all she wrote. I'd love to live to be an old man, but God, you can take me a young one. Just don't let the land I love die so young. Of thee I sing,
birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah. Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
And here we go.
Welcome to the Freak Show, the best in town.
What is going on, Hive? I hope everybody's having a great day. Let me double check the audio per usual. Oh, yeah, we got it loud and clear. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. I'm your host, Birdie. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the Hive Mind. I go live every weeknight at 7 p.m. Central. We have been diving into the Idaho 4 case and discussing how the narrative has completely hijacked the facts surrounding Bryan Kohberger's pleaded guilt or pled guilt, however you phrase that. This evening, the theme is open your eyes because There's a report in this case that came out very, very early. It actually took the media by storm. There was a 2011 to 2013 white Hyundai Elantra, tinted windows. You guys probably know the one that I'm talking about. This should have blown a crater the size of a nuclear bomb into this case. But instead, everyone treated it like some coincidence. Then the media just brushed it over. And it wasn't a typo. This is not just some random thing. Because the second that this report surfaced, they have been backpedaling on it ever since. And this evening, I'm here to remind everyone who has been looking into the Idaho 4 case about this white Elantra and articles and reports that came out when this crash was discovered. I believe I have also connected the dots for the timeline on why they found this Elantra with a homeless person sleeping inside of it, by the way, when they did. And if we compare that to the time of the first press conference about the Idaho 4, it gets very, very interesting. So buckle up this evening, Hive. I'm going to walk you through all of it. Like I said yesterday, if you have not checked out the stream yesterday, that was crazy and epic. I did not even plan on starting the week out showing that. That was a random thing that I had caught on Officer Snyder's body cam. Certainly looked like a body when you inverted the light with a filter. That has been posted. Both the quick cut and the full live is up now. Go check that out. But I told you yesterday, there's going to be a progression of a theme this week. And that theme is, let's not just go back to the beginning and relook at stuff. Let's listen to what we were told was not the truth. And let's see if we think the opposite way of that, if it will answer some of the questions that we have today regarding the footage. Bryan Kohberger's Elantra didn't have this feature or that feature. It doesn't look the same. WSU didn't start looking for a 2011 to a 2016 Hyundai Elantra until a tip from the FBI came in. And I'm going to be going through the entire progression this evening, but in a different light, not just laying out facts, but in the spirit of the hive mind, just enough speculation to make you think past the headlines and question the narrative by the time we get done. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say what's up to everybody. Sherry, how are you doing? Nomadic Duckman, Delilah, Tracy from Bama, Kathy, Genuinely Confused, Caleb, what's Gucci, my Louie, Hope, River Bear Teacup, Germelia, Crow and Rainbow, Critic Rick 66, Chrissy Copyright, Rachel, who lives near the ice wall. It's one of my favorite usernames in the chat. Good to see you. Batshit Crazy. Got Deanne, Susie, Chelsea, Dina, CK, the original Miss Martin 69, Allie, Zoe, Haley, UK Karen, Living Dead Girl Christy, formerly known as Beck. Always great to see you. Shout out to one of my mods. What's up, Chrissy 2.2, K-Kaz girl. What's up, Luna? Another one of my mods. The Hive has the best mods in all of the YouTube live stream lands, or whatever you want to call it. Our mods are the best. Mrs. Birdie, how are you doing? UFO Dog. Where's Discord Dawn? Carol B, thank you so much for the super chat. Carol says, hi, Birdie and Hive. Let's get to the bottom of this shit show. Pack of lies we've been fed. Amen to that. I certainly am ready to. I don't know about you all, but I'm sick of the BS. I'm so sick of it. What's up, Sylvia? Ricky Nixon, first time here. Let's all welcome Ricky to the Hive. Type of 1 if you're new here and this is your first live stream. We will welcome you with open arms. What's up, Shoe Girl? How are you doing? Lydia. Down the rabbit hole to hell. Joanne, Pinto Sack, Pierre, Jenna Baum, Brenda, Elizabeth, Toby's first live. Great to see you. The Maven 2017. That's a cool name. Second live stream. Critic Rick is not a newbie, but we'll go with it. Standing ovation. Standing ovation for that one, Lydia. And a top dog. That is hilarious. This is my first stream, pretty much, I think. Oh, I love that sense of humor. It's crazy. That one's hilarious. And excuse me, I'm still fighting off a cold. So if you guys hear my voice sound a little bit raspy, that's why. But if you guys have not hit that like button, please go ahead and do it. I saw somebody in the comments say, this is my first time watching you. And it's whatever they said was, I don't like how you just beg for likes. And I'm like, I do it for about 30 seconds. So if you don't want me to beg for likes, just tap the damn like button. That's all that I ask. Leave a little touch DNA on it. We're at 293 and we got 700 in here. Let's go ahead and get up to 700 likes so that we can get this show on the road. Luna says, I beg for likes. Sinful bitch 420. Good to see you. Yeah. Rachel says, or scram. One of the things that I've really tried to, keep in mind too is like, this is a live stream. Obviously, I'm set to run for about 90 minutes a night. So let's enjoy those 90 minutes. Let's not rush through it. I want to say what's up to everybody. That's really important to me, to make sure that everybody that's in the hive feels a sense of belonging, sense of a community. This is open-minded thinking, and we have a place that has become very special to be able to say whatever you want in the chat, as long as you're not threatening or spamming or trolling. Long Gone says, please hit that like button for Birdie. I agree. Thank you so much, Long Gone, for the super chat. As a reminder, any super chat over $4.99 will pop up. I do that every night, damn it. It'll pop up right here. I will address it immediately. My mods will also occasionally drop a tip link in the chat. The reason for that tip link is because YouTube is taxing super chats, or has been taxing super chats more than the federal government taxes your paychecks. So the tip link does help the channel out a little bit more if you feel kind enough to do so. But a super chat also is amazing to anybody who feels kind enough to donate. So thank you in advance. Fireball267 says, hey, Birdie, let's go. Let's keep unraveling all these lies and redactions. Now, I'm going to get into this, but real quick, I want everybody to type a 1 if last night seemed pretty mind-blowing as far as the figure that you were able to see on Officer Snyder's body cam. Because I've seen a lot of filter work. I'm not hating on them, but that one, I'm not even trying to be biased. I've never seen more people say in the comments, I can usually never see anything, but I saw that. And I'm glad that people were able to actually make that up. That's why I said in the beginning of last night's stream, I was nervous to show it because I don't want it to be so, you got to look here and can't you see it? And plus, maybe I can't see everybody else's because I'm colorblind legally. So, but that one, even being legally colorblind, I could make out clear as day, which is pretty wild. There she is. What's going on, Discord? Dawn, great to see you. All right. Let's get into it, shall we? So I'm going to walk everybody through this progression of the white Hyundai Elantra and how we got to Bryan Kohberger's. I think most people that have been following this case, they understand that there was a tip for IGG that came in from the FBI. And then Moscow went back to WSU. They started talking about expanding the search. There's a plethora of emails that talk about the expert that was identifying the car saying, no, I feel really good about 2011 to 2013. And then they expanded it from 2011 to 2016. I'm going to go through all of that, but I'm going to really, really dive into something that I believe that people are missing. And it seems so obvious. I hope that I lay it out in a way that it will seem so obvious that it's insulting to us. Because make no mistake about it, our intelligence is being completely insulted in this case. Document after document, security camera after security camera, audio after audio, 911 call, interview after interview, every press release. They don't give a damn if it's easy for people that are actually following this case to poke holes in it. There's a reason they're continuing this pattern, everybody. So let's break the cycle of following that pattern. Let's go against the grain. Let's think outside the box. And I want everybody to do their best to follow my thought process in not only the reason why they said that the Eugene, Oregon launcher was non-related, but the timing that they say it was discovered compared to when the press conference was, even down to the granular details of the damage that Whitey Elantra just so happened to have. So this first article that I want to go over is from Idaho 6 News. And the WSU police chief recalls interviewing Bryan Kohberger for a job months before murders. Now, you know what? Every time that I do this, hang on, give me a second here. I got to turn on my pop-up blocker or some shit. Because it just vibrates. One second, Hive. Let me get that off the screen so nobody sees us out. One second. Let me just focus here. All right. Hopefully that helps. Let's see. All right, I'm going to have to keep it up here, but again, the title of this article is that WSU police chief recalls interviewing Bryan Kohberger for a job months before the murders. What's really interesting is when you scroll down here, Gary Jenkins, now the WSU police chief, previously served as Pullman's police chief and interviewed Kohberger for a job just months before the crimes. Incoming PhD students could apply to be a researcher embedded in our police department as part of their PhD program, Jenkins explained. And so in April of 2022, I interviewed 4 applicants for that position, and one of those applicants was Bryan Kohberger. Jenkins said he did not hire Kohberger, who has since pleaded guilty, blah, blah, blah. All right. Let me just find this one part. So the second is someone who could establish trust and rapport with my staff. Kohberger was not particularly personable. He didn't have a very fluid or conversational manner in talking. While he didn't notice any glaring red flags, Jenkins said Kohberger came across as socially awkward. He was just a little bit awkward and maybe would be somewhat awkward in social situations. But this part is what I want to really talk about. It was the type of crime that was completely out of character for this area, Jenkins said. I haven't been involved or seen something like this in my 44 years of law enforcement. That's a little bit weird. And the reason why I wanted to bring up Jenkins is because there's a video clip of that. And again, because the articles are bouncing around, I'm going to kind of skip over that. You guys get my point. Let's watch this.
Let's switch gears for a second and let's talk about the white Elantra. When did you first learn that Moscow PD was looking for a white Hyundai Elantra in connection with the student murders?
So the murders occurred on November 13th. We received an email from Moscow Police Department as well as other law enforcement agencies here in this region on November 28th. So 15 days after the murders. And this is that same bolo went out to the public December 7th. So it was between the murders and when it was sent out to the public. And we were asked that, well, they told us that there was a vehicle of interest that was a 2011 to 2013 white Hyundai Elantra. And they asked us not to share it with the public, but that if we found a vehicle that matched that description, to pass that information along to them.
Did anyone check the WSU video management system for a white Elantra once you knew that that was the vehicle being looked for?
No. For one, it's really, we have thousands of vehicles on campus, and it's difficult to determine the make and model of cars from our system. But what did happen was within 16 hours of receiving that bolo, one of our officers checked our parking database for a white Hyundai Elantra, and he found a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra that was registered to Bryan Kohberger and found it at his graduate student housing apartment. And then that was on a graveyard shift. And then the next shift on a day shift, one of our other officers was driving through campus and found that same white Hyundai Elantra at Bryan Kohberger's on-campus housing. The bolo that we received had very specific information with the make and the model, the color, and the year parameters. The vehicle found by our officers belonging to Bryan Kohberger was a 2015, not a 2011 to 2013. So they just recorded the information. They didn't pass that information on to Moscow PD because it didn't meet the criteria they were asking for.
But even though the make and the body style, which are the most important two things, matched, why would the year make that big of a difference?
Well, they seem to be pretty certain about the year parameters. Otherwise, they wouldn't have provided those years. If they had just asked for a white Hyundai Elantra, definitely it would have been passed along.
I mean, look, there's two things that I want to say. One, I don't want to be rude to this woman, but what an insane question. That's just insane. Why do the years matter? Well, lady, there's 22,000 white Hyundai Elantras in that area. And law enforcement was very certain, according to Jenkins, on 2011 to 2013, so certain and so specific that twice they did not report Bryan Kohberger's Elantra. Secondly, I'm not going to call people out in the chat. I really don't want to do that. I saw a comment that said, this was covered 2 years ago. No shit, it was covered 2 years ago. 2 years ago, do we have any answers? No. As of December 9th, 2025, do we have any answers? No. So what I'm going to do is, instead of thinking to myself, other people have covered this, I'm going to cover it myself. I'm going to come to my own conclusions. That's what I'm going to do. And I would encourage everybody in here to do that for themselves as well. There are so many examples, not only in this case, but just in life, in any other story. When you go back and you rewatch something years after the fact, things hit way differently. It's one of my taglines for the Hive is that thinking different hits different. And especially when a chunk of time has gone by, you can absolutely see a different narrative playing out when you're not so emotionally involved in it. Going back to this woman, it's absurd. It's actually insane that you would ask why the year is so important. I don't even know how else to say that. It reminds me of the quote from, now I'm forgetting that movie with Adam Sandler, where it's like, we are all stupider for now having had listened to that. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. That's what I would say to her. So anyways, you guys heard that right there. They were very, very specific, 2011 to 2013, and don't let the public know if you find it. This was put out 15 days after. Keep that number in your head. 15 days after. Why? Why 15 days after, and why still not tell the public? Why so specific 2011 to 2013? By the way, I'm not going to play this. I'm not going to play this full thing, but just so that if people want to go watch that full interview, that little short clip was really all that I needed. This right here, I'll give credit to where that interview is found.
Back to Moscow.
It's from the interview room, behind the curtain, the secretive practices of college police, which is just, again, that's an insane title. That's an insane title. The hell does that even mean? Now, to get into the main theme of this evening, this is on December 20th. This article was written. I'm going to go through a couple of these. The title of this is Police Crashed Car Found in Oregon Has No Connection to Idaho Quadruple Murder. Authorities in Idaho announced on Tuesday a white Hyundai Elantra involved in a crash in Oregon has no connection to a quadruple murder. All right. I want you to notice something about the damage of this car. What does anybody notice about it? Let's think critically. Let's actually think like detectives. Let's not convince ourselves that we're just speculating. Let's use our brains. We all have the ability to critically think. Let's look at this. Okay. That car, it looks like it either rear-ended the shit out of somebody, wrapped itself around a pole, but ultimately Does it look drivable after having that damage done to it? Oh, wait. Hang on, wait. I'm forgetting something that's like the most important part. What is no longer on the car that would really, really identify what year a Hyundai Elantra is? Oh, the fog lights. There's no broken glass anywhere. You don't see any fog light at all. So it's just a very, very convenient white Hyundai Elantra with tinted windows that matches the exact make and model of the one that the Bolo had, with no license plate, that a homeless person was sleeping in. And again, as I continue through there, I will continue to talk about why this seems so suspicious. There are a couple of video links that I'm going to be playing right now. I'm going to open them up in YouTube just so I can give credit to the page that they're posted on. So this is from 4 News Now.
U of I murder investigation tonight. New information about a white Hyundai Elantra that was found crashed in Eugene, Oregon. Moscow police have been looking for a car like that in recent weeks, saying the driver and any passengers may have information that could be helpful in the case of 4 University of Idaho students who were killed last month. The car in Eugene looks like this stock photo. Moscow police say they confirmed with detectives in Eugene that it was involved in a crash and was impounded. They say that car is registered out of Colorado, and the owner is not believed to have anything to do with the murder investigation. The owner.
I want you to listen to this. They're telling us. They're telling us, and they don't even know they're telling us. Okay, if you have been following this case and you know the suspicions about this car and about people involved and who this car might be tied to and why they might say the owner has nothing to do with it, just listen.
That car is registered out of Colorado, and the owner is not believed to have anything to do with the murder investigation. Effectively ruling this Elantra and the woman who drives it out. Moscow investigators are going through about 22,000 Hyundai Elantra records in the U.S., hoping to pinpoint the one seen on surveillance footage the night of the murders. If you have any information about the car.
Okay, so that's one video. These are all short clips, but these are all just, they're incredible.
All right, now our other top story, an update in the murder investigation of 4 University of Idaho students. Here are All right, now our other top story, an update in the murder investigation of 4 University of Idaho students. Here are the top 3 things you need to know that have just emerged today. First, after a video was taken on the night of the murders from a downtown business, police have confirmed they have now identified a man who was referenced in a security video by 2 of the victims from the night of the murder. Police are saying that man is now cooperating with police. Also tonight, after
Okay, I'm going to back that up. I want you all to listen very closely to what this woman says. It could be she's misspoken, but listen to how she frames this.
A man who was referenced in a security video by 2 of the victims from the night of the murder. Police
referenced in a security video by 2 of the victims. How the hell is that possible? How is somebody referenced by 2 of the victims in a security video? Assuming she's talking about Hoodie Guy, how is that even possible? No, it says referenced. And they don't say was identified by 2 of the surviving roommates. That's what they should have said, but they don't say that.
Of the murders from a downtown business, police have confirmed they have now identified a man who was referenced in a security video by 2 of the victims from the night of the murder. Police are saying that man is now cooperating with police. Also tonight, after an extensive search for a white Hyundai Elantra, Moscow police believe.
And again, it's just insane. anything. It's like, I'd be curious if, well, I'm going to actually bite my tongue and just let this play.
Tonight, after an extensive search for a white Hyundai Elantra, Moscow police believe one was spotted near the crime scene.
Again, no license plate on this.
The night those students were killed, and they have long said that whoever was in the car could have critical information. Well, now they are aware of a white Hyundai Elantra located in Eugene, Oregon. That's the car you're looking at right now. We also just learned from Moscow police that car is registered out of Colorado. They believe it has no connection to the property in Moscow where the murders took place. The Moscow police chief did give a full breakdown today of where the investigation stands right now. Here's what he had to share.
So I know there's been some questions about the leadership in this investigation. What I want people to know is this is a...
Dude, this feels like, again, if you're easily rattled or if you're offended on behalf of others and you don't know how to think critically or think past the headlines, just turn this off right now, because this is probably going to piss you off. But I'm telling you, this police chief looks like he just turned his camera on for a school project that he has to submit before midnight.
Moscow Police Department investigation. We're utilizing the resources of the FBI and state police, but we pick the investigators. My command team oversees this. We have 94 years of experience between us, and we're going to continue to work this case. We're going to continue to work it to the completion. We have a lot of resources that we're utilizing, but we still ask for your help. We ask for any tips that you might have, anything that you might be able to give us. We're going to take a look at those, but be assured that this investigation is the Moscow Police Department's, and I am the chief, and we're going to follow through with this. And just know that from the very beginning of this, we've been a unified group, and we make decisions together. But those ultimately, I stand behind to the end. I'd like to update you on our tips so far. We've received 7,600 email tips. We received 4,300 phone tips. We've received 4,500 digital tips. All of this helps build the picture that we're trying to put together here to solve this case. What we want you to know is we appreciate all your help. We appreciate everything that you've done, but we're asking that if you have anything additional, please just send it to us through our tip line or through our email tip line.
Just send it to us through our email tip line for us to never look at it again. And that's right, Discord Dawn. 94 years between all 200 of them. They have so many resources. Jesus.
We appreciate that.
They have had a lot of tips coming in, including one about this white Hyundai Elantra that was found in Eugene, Oregon. At this hour, police are saying it had nothing to do with the murder that we know of so far. But
okay, hang on. I don't want to laugh. This is not a joking manner. I can promise you that I'm not taking this shit lightly. I'm very serious and very committed to finding the truth. But you have to find humor in how stupid this sounds. Not necessarily this reporter, but it's like how I said, when you go back and you listen to it, this news lady doesn't even believe it. Listen how she says this.
Asking that if you have, we appreciate
Elantra that was found in Eugene. They have had a lot of tips coming in, including one about this white Hyundai Elantra that was found in Eugene, Oregon. At this hour, police are saying it had nothing to do with the murder that we know of so far.
It had nothing to do with the murder that we know so far. For God's sakes. That's how I read it. I don't know if other people agree with that, but again, I just want to get through. This is another video. I'm showing this because I really want to make it hit home just how big of a deal when this Elantra was found. This should have blown a huge crater in the case. It should have woken everybody up, and all they did was run cover for the discovery after they broke it themselves, meaning the media. They ended up just covering their own ass with it.
When he spoke with Fox Digital, he said this, quote, "Now they're reaching out and they're going to look to the community to see if this individual borrowed this car."
Hello. Who else have we heard was driving a car that they might not have owned that belonged to somebody else? Why don't we go ahead and we put it in the chat? Let's go ahead. Let's put it in the chat. Let's see, because how weird is that Steve G is saying now they're reaching out and they're going to look to the community to see if this individual borrowed this car. It's crazy.
Neither Steve Gonsalves nor the police have explicitly said that it was the killer driving the Elantra that night, only that this person or person inside the car likely have critical information about the case. So we also don't know exactly what they meant by borrowed, whether they're saying the car was lent to somebody or maybe stolen. But if they find that car, could the digital forensics actually help pinpoint exactly where that was that all night, like where the car ended up being all night?
Yeah.
Because that would be huge, right?
That would be.
If they could do that. So I want to bring in John Nakarato. He analyzes crime and justice under the name Johnny Law. He spent 25 years as a crime scene reconstructionist, specializing in blood spatter, office-involved shootings and cold cases. He's also a nationally certified traffic crash reconstructionist. This is so great to talk to you because I want to ask you, if they find that car, 2011 to 2013, Johnny, is there even enough digital technology in a vehicle of that era to provide any kind of forensic clues, like the GPS that's sometimes in the engine, not so much the GPS that's up on the dashboard that we get to use to navigate, but that would tell where the car goes and where it's been?
You know, that year of car, it's kind of on the cutting edge of when the technology started to come out, right? 2006, they started getting GPS and those kind of systems. And so this year of car, this 2011, 2013, even the in-dash systems, most of those weren't installed in the Elantras. The ones that I looked at, it was just a regular AM, FM radio. Some had a satellite button on them. But that's really because they're a location-based service, right? They're there to guide you on where to go, tell you where the restaurants are, the next gas station. They're a service base. So that's really where the technology would come in.
Okay, if they don't find this car, are they dead in the water here in this investigation? Because it feels like this is all they have.
I don't think so. The forensic evidence is still coming back. I think the forensics is gonna solve this case. What happened on the inside of that house, on the outside, that's really gonna help solve this case. Now, if this is a car, this car is definitely a point of interest for law enforcement, right? They've gotten some kind of statement or witness that narrowed this car down to this specific range, right? A 2010 looks way different than a 2011. A 2014 looks a lot different than a 2013. So whatever information they got to kind of pinpoint this car, they really need to drill down on that and try to find out anything they can on where this car has been. And it's a big task where they have 20-something thousand cars that are these Elantras, right? But if you start to kind of dive down to the VIN numbers of these cars, you can actually see if this car was made in Korea on a 2013, did it come in the color white? If it didn't come in the color white, then you could start to rule out different things in the VIN numbers.
I am flat out of time, but I want you to come back because you know a lot about this stuff, and I don't think this conversation's over. Johnny Law, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And everybody, thank you for being...
Yeah. Whatever, Banfield. All right. Now, I will say, to give credit to Inside Edition, this was one of the better interviews about this.
A promising lead in the University of Idaho slayings turns out to be a dead end. Police say the white Elantra found abandoned in Eugene, Oregon, is not believed to have any relation to the ongoing murder investigations. The owner has been identified. She lives in Colorado. She spoke to cops and said the vehicle was abandoned after a collision. She has no known connection to Moscow, Idaho, or to any of the 4 victims. The latest blind alley is triggering more heat on the cops from the family of slain Kaylee Gonsalves. Attorney Shannon Gray says the lead investigator has only 2 years experience.
We've been questioning some of their decisions and why they didn't release a general statement to the public within 24 to 48 hours about someone might have had injuries to their forearms or their hands. I mean, those injuries will have been healed up by now.
I spoke with police spokesman Aaron Snell. They are referring to the lead detective as a rookie and that he's in over his head here.
we have qualified and quality people working on this case. Those types of comments, aren't always helpful, but we're going to keep working on, we're going to keep pushing, and we're just going to do what we do, and that's the investigation of a criminal act.
There's mounting evidence that the house where the murders took place was a party palace where dozens of students would come and go, apparently wide open to anyone. Body cam video shows cops answering a noise complaint on Labor Day weekend, 6 weeks before the murders.
Yeah, these are cold.
A cop pours out a whole case of hard seltzer left at the door. He contacts Madison Mogan, one of the murdered girls, by phone and gives her a stern warning.
If I were you guys, I'd probably just come home. And
again, though, I will say, even though the Elantra thing, I thought that they did a good job of just saying the facts. None of this, in my opinion, what we're looking at, none of this really provides value to the investigation. It's just background, right? It's background. It could matter, but when I think of the active investigation of what should have been going on, the white Elantra is absolutely a part of that active investigation, if that makes sense.
make sure that whoever is partying here is keeping it down to a minimum, okay?
Yeah.
All right. All of them. If I have to come back later tonight, there's going to be some citations given out, okay?
Okay, very clear. Thank you.
I've also never heard of a cop just calling somebody on their phone and being like, hey, you have a huge party at your house, and we're going to give you a slap on the wrist if you do this again, and I got to come back. Are you kidding me? That seems like the biggest green light. Like, that house is completely greenlit for tickets if the owners aren't there. Are you serious? Again, as much as that doesn't have to do with the investigation, that's weird.
So many students partying means there could be hair and fingerprints all over the house that have nothing to do with the murders.
Yes, it does make it complex, and we are working on that.
All right. So, let me get out of this for a second. You guys get my point about this white Elantra, okay? Pretty much the abandoned white car is not connected to the Idaho 4. I'm going to show you all this slide quick so that you can see both the front and the back of it. I don't see any broken glass. I don't even know what this would have hit. This looks like it was almost hit with a sledgehammer. And it's just very convenient. The back, no license plate, no damage. I want everybody to pay attention to these two things right there. All right, now I'm going to give a shout out to Jay and Bree for this. It's a short clip. This is a video from Pav. I don't know if he put this out today, yesterday, 2 days ago, but he put it out recently.
When you look at it from this perspective, it's like a little teardrop. And it's small in comparison to, say, the 2015 model you see over here that has the much more extended fog lamp.
Again, what are the odds that the front end is wrecked and there's no fog lamps? And that it's torn, if you look closely, it's perfectly separated so that you wouldn't be able to see it. And the other one is missing from all the photos that I can see. Tinted windows. Now here's another one from Jamboree talking about the back part. This is the most important part. I'm going to take the comments down just for a second. Listen to this. This is a short clip. I might play it twice.
These little reflectors continue on a little bit on both sides, but they're clearly flush in the back bumper right here above this area. However, in the 2013 model, you can see this same little indention right here, just like you see blacked out on this one. But in this little indention are the rear bumper reflectors. And unlike the 2015, they don't wrap around at all. They're down here in this little area, and they're kind of angled down just a little bit. So that is the main difference that you can tell when identifying these vehicles. The difference between the vehicles is these rear bumper reflectors right here and the fog lamps.
You know, I'm glad that Ricky Nixon brought this up because this gives credibility to what I'm about to say. Ricky Nixon says, I did auto claims for years, and I will say that's a common spot to break up on the bumper. Of course, if this was somehow a crash at an Elantra that they know was involved, but they didn't want anybody to be involved, they would make it look as realistic as they could. I don't think it's really that hard, to your point, Ricky, of saying that's a common spot to break on the bumper. Well, what's the common accident that people get into when a bumper breaks in that position? I mean, I think any rear ending, typically cars will crunch up like that. Their hood will fold up a little bit and their bumper drops off, usually on one side, if not completely. I'm going somewhere with this. So I know that if most people watched Pav's video, you guys heard that deep dive that he did. But again, so you could see the back of it. It's exactly the same. There's another angle of it. Now, this is what I want to talk about. This is where I want people to put on their thinking caps. I want to make sure that I say this as clearly as I can. Okay. The drive from Moscow to Eugene is approximately 7 hours. It's like 400. I actually have it pulled up here. It's 7 hours and it's 467 miles. Okay. So if you were on the run after committing a murder, that's not far to drive. What is that? 2 tanks of gas? Maybe. All right. I see comments in the chat. You guys are, in my opinion, and respectfully, for the sake of this conversation right now, you're thinking too granular. And that's okay. I want people to hear the bigger picture right now. Okay. So for the next 5 minutes, think big picture. White Hyundai Elantra, tinted windows, matches the exact year, make, model, everything. It's within 8 hours away in Eugene, Oregon, travels highways that go directly out of Moscow, Pullman, right? That entire highway system. You're not going out of your way at all. You're going one direction for 7 hours, having to stop maybe twice to fill up with gas only. It matches the exact description, and right away, just like right away in the rumor control, they said the victims were asleep. They were not bound and gagged. And that the 2 roommates are not considered to be suspicious. All right. I'm going on this overarching theme. Whether or not we debate those things, let's all address for a little bit here. Those all were shot down immediately without seeming to have a deep investigation. That was right away. The media jumped on it. The police walked it back. This was targeted. No, it wasn't. It's a one-off attack. No, it wasn't. Nobody's in danger, but keep your head on a swivel. Right? So, December 17th of 2022 at 5 a.m, and there was a homeless person inside of it. So let's think about this. The damage that we just talked about destroys the front end, potentially being able to identify the fog lamps. They didn't do anything to the back end because that would be weird. It would almost be too obvious. The homeless person inside of it, that excuse gives them the ability to break a window, leave random miscellaneous shit in there. If there's random DNA, they can say it's not viable. And how interesting is it that the day before this, okay? So or not the day before, I'm sorry, but the press conference took how many days? Okay. Then it took 15 days for them to put the bolo out and not tell the public. The timing of this just seems so suspicious. Don't tell the public if you identify a white Hyundai Elantra at WSU. Think of how long they have to identify a white Hyundai Elantra that's at least close to that make and model. And it just so happens to be a criminology student who's studying everything that he is in regards to plea deals. I'm telling you, this has been in our face the entire time. And then what's even more interesting is if you go to the intersection footage on Stadium Way, let me pull this up. It's so wild to me too, this entire case. You type something in and nothing, you could type in Bryan Kohberger Stadium Way surveillance footage. Nothing pops up on the first page. It's just insane to me. Now you go to, this is 359. Let's go to 528, according to my notes. All right. I want you guys to watch this. I haven't seen anybody pick up on this yet, but this is at least worth showing everybody, in my opinion. So the Elantra is going to drive right up here. Okay. I want you to watch it when it gets right around here. Tell me what you all see happen. And then I'll go back and I'll slow it down. Okay, come on. Where is this thing? All right, it's coming into the picture now. Watch it. Keep watching it. Okay. Let's watch this again. This car, in my opinion, it's moving. It seems to be moving it at like a pace of a damn traffic simulator. And I'm not going to sound crazy. Just hear me out. Okay? The lighting on it doesn't match the environment. These timestamps piss me off too. So 7:28, it's 7:28 or is it 5:27? What is it? Do you guys notice that? What time is it? Is that UTC time versus local time? Probably. Christ, where is this damn car? Okay. In my opinion, it just looks like it's just a straight line. Like it doesn't follow the curve of the road, in my opinion. Now, let's go back a little bit. Okay. As anybody would notice, within 2 seconds of seeing this, you would realize this is not Bryan Kohberger's car. The entirety of this footage that's on this intersection, Stadium Way, is just, it's so maddening. So my point is this. What I'm getting at for this evening, and the stream's not over, is it's just very convenient that a car that matches everything that they were looking for just so happens to be found wrecked with a homeless person in it with front end damage where you can't clearly see the fog lights. They shoot it down right away that it's not having anything to do with the crime. I'm wondering why that is. Why is Chief Fry so giddy talking to the camera saying, this is Moscow's investigation? What did you guys do? We saw your police reports. Does anybody actually know the answer to this? This is a little bit different than what we've been talking about thus far. But does anybody know the answer as to why. As far as I know, is Officer Snyder the only one going around taking pictures on their phone? Do you guys know off the top of your head? Let's see what the chat says. Because when I'm watching Officer Snyder, I've said this on stream, he seems to be the only one that's hustling around. He's crouching down, he's running, he's literally jogging, putting up crime scene tape. And then it almost feels like people are waiting outside for him to come take a picture with his phone of the handprints on the glass, for him to go upstairs. You got Gunnarsson behind him, making sure he gets it. He's the one that opens the door. Why is that? That's the only one that we've seen. That's right. It certainly seems like he was not briefed. The other thing, if you remember the clip that I played of Officer Snyder's body cam, and oddly enough, I had no intention of continuously talking about Officer Snyder. That body cam is very telling, especially when you see all of them at the bottom of King Road talking with the detectives. He's walking up to them. He's telling them about how Jack walked up saying he's the ex. He was with them at the corner club, all that stuff, right? We went over that a couple nights ago. Does anybody remember the verbiage that was it? What was the verbiage? I know they said that. I already got a call from Ashley, but the verbiage was, do we have the prosecutor spooled up on what's going on? And I understand that it's law enforcement, but spooled up is a very specific phrasing, in my opinion. Okay, and I'll show you guys this too. But what does it mean when someone asks if the prosecutor is spooled up on the situation? Oh, I got to share this. My bad. Is the prosecutor fully briefed, mentally locked in, and operating at maximum readiness on this issue? It's not just do they know about it. It's like, are they fully aligned, energized, and prepared to take action based on the full intel? Right? So what I wish that I could, I want to be careful how I say this. My goal is not to piss anybody off, to offend anybody, obviously not. But I myself even get caught up in this. Oh my God, there's new footage. Oh my God, there's new this. Oh my God, there's new documents. There's new interviews. Are we all starting to realize that either it's completely done by design and we keep falling for it because it gives us nothing? It gives us another rabbit hole to go down. Can somebody please tell me verbatim what happened in the Idaho 4 case? Who did it? When did they do it? What vehicle were they driving? If somebody else can tell me the entire timeline outside of what the news has said about Bryan Kohberger, I'm all ears. I don't believe Bryan Kohberger did this, obviously. But can somebody tell me any other theory that lines up better than what the news put out to us? because you have what they say Bryan drove, even though we're saying that's clearly not the same car. Well, they didn't catch it in court. And I'm saying this because if you think that you know, it's speculation. It's speculation based on research that people have done, whoever it is. I'm talking about all of us. It's our own bias in our minds based on the work that we've done and how we've interpreted it. That's what this means. It happened at this time. Here are things that corroborate my theory. In my genuine opinion, we are falling for exactly what they want us to, with all of this stuff being released and the fact that we have to pay for it and it's still redacted and it's still manipulated, or people are having to stitch the videos together themselves, or it still doesn't provide answers. And then what does that make us do? That makes us speculate harder. It's human nature to think darker and more nefarious about what happened. It causes us to potentially drag people's names into this that have no involvement. And what I'm getting at is that it doesn't have to be like this at all. They're choosing for it to be like this. This case is not a mystery. People know exactly what happened. They're making it a mystery to the public. And yes, we're trying to figure it out. My question to everybody in the chat, tell me why you think they would do that to the public. Why would they make this a mystery to us? Why can't we know? We can know about so many other crimes. We have full unredacted access to so many other crimes. Why can't we know this? And I'll put some up on screen. Marina says, truly feel like a dog being walked down a path. It's like cattle being herded down a path. We are looking one way to not look the correct way. Marianne says, because we are the experiment. Original Miss Martin says, social experiment. Claire says, to protect the schools. Rachel, who lives near the ice wall, says, ongoing operation. The Flying Sky says that the public, or to my point, the public can't know because the police and university are involved. Shelley says, to cover many asses. Chris Stew says he did it, probably meaning Bryan Kohberger. And I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt that that's trolling, but I will still give a cautionary clown horn. Tommy Boy says Witsack. Cookies Corner 420 says, see what they can and can't get away with, how far we will dig. Shoe Girl says, because it's cover up, lies, lies, and more lies. Brian Todd says, still fishing for bigger fish. The Delani, sorry, hopefully I said that right. One, it's like a big money scam. Big Amish Media says sources and methods and goes up to national security. Chelsea says PSYOP. George Stewart says cover for their own cops. Frank Castle says green are the universities involved. Okie dokie. Lisa says something bigger, and BK is just a smoke screen. So, like I've been saying, this week you're going to see a progression in the streams, right? Yesterday was kind of random, but it fits into, if you dive and you comb deep enough, you might find something. Certainly looked like a body on Snyder's body cam. Today, I'm trying to get people's brains to think, how convenient is it that the exact make and model with tinted windows has a front end wreck, and they say is not involved, and there's a homeless person in it. My question is, how did this car even get to the side of the road? Did it hit another car? Where is the damage in the street? How long was it sitting there? Didn't it go days without being reported? People have dove into the owner of this car. That's up for speculation. There's only one cop that we see taking pictures on their iPhone while everybody else is like waiting for them to walk around with their iPhone. You hear Sergeant Blaker in Lana's body cam where it showed Payne showing up without a body cam. So Lana had shown a couple weeks ago. Payne's there without a body cam. Blaker's in the background. Jennings walks in. Ashley Jennings. I swear to God, you can hear Blaker say social experiment. My question to everybody is this. We don't have an answer with all the footage, all the court documents. I've been saying that till I'm blue in the face. At what point do we start looking into the funding of WSU, especially amidst the lawsuit that some of the families are trying to sue WSU? Is that of interest to anybody? I don't want to look into things. Like, I'll look into them on my own and then I'll present them when I'm ready. Is that something that you guys would want to like progressively look into, or do you just want me to present it? Type of 1, if you believe that the funding of WSU is about damn time we looked into it. Because in the background, I've been doing a hell of a lot of digging. And I believe that I've pieced it back. And it's a 4-phase funding, or there's like 4 phases of the funding. And what I want everybody to do when you have a minute, okay, so just like I did this evening, I went and I showed you a bunch of the early articles in regards to this white Elantra, right? Suspicious vehicle potentially involved. Like, clearly, even the mainstream, who has been nothing but a roadblock in this case, we're jumping on that, only to then run cover and cover their own asses. I feel in my gut the truth is being told to us in the opposite light. Okay? The victims were asleep. No, they weren't. The victims were not bound and gagged. We have Steve G telling Hippler, it's disgusting that you're even using the word gag order because some of the victims were gagged. People should know what happened to our children. White Elantra, matching the exact same make and model, not involved. Convenient. If you go back and you watch the CW documentary, listen to how they talk. Listen to everything that they're saying. In my opinion, the CW documentary came out like 7 months ago. If you, out of all of them, that one is the most telling when you listen to it in an opposite light. So I would challenge people to do that when you have a second. It's only like an hour documentary or episode. And I've clipped a couple of things from that. Okay. And I'll show you a couple. Again, kind of a trigger warning because I know I'm very aware that a lot of this is BS. Just think in the opposite.
Moscow police and the FBI were quietly investigating the DNA that was left behind on the knife sheath, and the public knew nothing about this. But there was a parallel investigation going on as well, based on something entirely different. But there was a parallel investigation going on as well, based on something entirely different.
That really stood out to me.
And the public knew nothing about this. But there was a parallel investigation going on as well, based on something entirely different. But there was a parallel investigation going on as well, based on something entirely different.
So there's little things like that in my head, I'm like, see, that's a really weird thing to say. There's a parallel investigation going on from a different department. No. There's a parallel investigation going on that the public knew nothing about based on something entirely different. And it is pretty wild that I'm playing Ashley Banfield and actually saying like, wow, she actually might have given us a clue. Okay. So that was one clip. Okay, here's another one.
Because of that traffic stop in October, police in Pullman actually had Bryan Kohberger's cell phone number. They'd already pulled the cell phone tower data from the King Road area in Moscow from the night of the crime. And so even without getting a warrant, they were able to compare the last 4 digits of Kohberger's number with all of the cell phone numbers that pinged on that tower from the time frame of the murder. But they came up empty. And this was really a major setback. Frame of the murder, but they came up empty, and this was really a major set.
Again, that's a little bit weird. This was released 7 months ago, and this is what Bryan Enton, who has said the opposite many times, was saying.
Of Kohberger's number with all of the cell phone numbers that pinged on that tower from the time frame of the murder, but they came up empty, and this was really a major setback. But they came up empty.
So they came up empty? Because I thought that, and isn't that interesting though? That the prosecutor will say, well, we can't put him in the house, but we can put him in the area X amount of times that night. And I will acknowledge that. Just like I will also acknowledge there was no sexual motivation in this crime, yet in the victim impact statements, they're saying he's a pedophile. So why are we hearing both sides? Is it possible there is a reason for this much confusion, and it is not just people who are inadequate at their jobs? Because this amount of confusion, this amount of deliberate misdirection, personally, I think it takes talent. I don't know how you can do that so consistently for so long, provide so much information and so much video, so much audio, and still have nothing. That takes talent, right? How do you keep it hidden that well? I'm actually asking for an answer. Can somebody tell me their best guess as to how you can do that? The leaks, all the leaks that came out, really? I mean, were those real leaks? Oh, sorry, Smick. I was doing my best Bill Thompson impersonation when it's like, and I will acknowledge that we cannot put him inside the house. That's what I was saying. I actually want to know, like, how is this possible? How is this possible that there's only a handful of cases in existence that have this little of transparency, everybody. A plea deal that has no business having a plea deal ever taken. If the public can look at this for 30 seconds and say, that's not his car. Ugh. You know, I go through a lot of phases mentally covering this case so many times, or I guess for so many streams. And I just saw a comment that I want to address, and I promise Rayra Spook, I'm not harping on you at all. Okay, so Hive, I'm not shitting on Rayra here. Rayra says, what if Ethan and Xana were killed first? Kaylee and Maddie came home, freaked out. Kaylee knew it was a drug hit, threatened to expose, so they were also killed by the higher ups. I go through phases in this. My gut, as of late, has been telling me there's no way that it could just be that straightforward. So they're going to cover up for gangbangers. They're going to cover up for drug networks. They're going to cover up for higher ups who are involved. Maybe. What I find so interesting about all of that is it still comes down to Bryan Kohberger. That's like the X factor, everyone. That's what I'm saying. That's not an unreasonable thought, but it comes down to Bryan. Bryan, who didn't know anybody. Bryan, who people apparently hated. Bryan, who was antisocial. Bryan, who had nothing in his apartment. Bryan, who might be on the spectrum. Bryan, who, right? How? Ocean Breeze says, I'm making it seem like this case is so unusual. What does that mean? I think it's very unusual. Type of 1 if you think this case is unusual. What does that mean? The hell? This case is extremely unusual. When have you ever seen a stabbing be classified as national security and have people's names, faces on body cams that we know who they are after they've been in court 100 times and we've seen their faces, still have it blurred out? That's not normal. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just like, yeah, I'm trying to make this case seem unreasonable and unusual. It's completely unusual. This case is insane. This case is so insane that it really just makes your head spin. OH Valley Storm says, so I have Gray Hughes admitting he was wrong on my Twitter and says he agrees it wasn't Bryan's car in much of the footage, but nowadays it's irrelevant. Well, I think Gray Hughes is a simp ass. Well, I'm not going to be mean. I just think Gray Hughes, I don't even know who he is. He just comments a bunch of shit talk on all my videos. I've never watched a single video of his. But he really got pissed off at my video about the 1122 or the 1112 footage and it looping. So I take back the whole, no, I don't. I think it's weird that you're going to get so mad at somebody, but I'm not trying to start internet beef. I just don't know who he is. Somebody had to tell me. So I've heard of him, but I've never watched his stuff outside of that. I just think that in general, though, this case is so insane that it makes you really wonder what is actually going on besides just a cover up. So that's why I brought up the funding. Hey, don't jump down my neck here, okay? I'm not saying that I'm going this direction. I just want to put some feelers out there. I'm sure people are aware. Okay. People remember Papa Rogers. People know that the investigators have said it was not Bryan Kohberger. Right? My whole point in bringing all of this old stuff up is not to say this is old news. People covered this 2 years ago. Okay. We know so much more and nothing has changed from 2 years ago. Most times in a case, when you go back, the early information happens to be some of the most accurate. I'm not even claiming that Papa Rogers was Bryan Kohberger. But you all remember how big of a stink Papa Rogers was causing, right? Hopefully I'm back. Froze out for a little bit. All right. So if it's not Bryan Kohberger, well, who is it? And then people were saying, well, it kind of looks like a Moscow, like somebody from Russia, and the side profile, Bryan Kohberger. What are the chances of that? It's very similar to the white Elantra. Nope, it has nothing to do with the case. Papa Rogers, nothing to do with the case. A lot of the incel serial killer narrative came around that time frame of Papa Rogers. Let's not forget that. Are people aware, and this is just a question, I don't think this is breaking news to anybody, but I'm going back to that type of stuff here, so bear with me. Just think for a second. Are people aware of who Elliot Rogers was? Yes or no? 2014, California. Okay. I'll show you guys this quick. Elliot Rodger. He was a British American mass murderer. He killed 6 people in 2014 in Isla Vista. Okay. Where is it about the actual? He wrote a 137-page manifesto. He used a gun and 2 knives, 3 by stabbing, 3 by gunfire. Alpha Phi sorority. Who was a part of Alpha? Who was a part of that sorority? Okay, he ended up unaliving himself. In the following years of his death, Rogers' attack became a topic in conversations about mental health, online radicalization, and misogyny. But he was diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified, PDD-NOS, later redefined as a form of autism. He endured bullying during his time in middle school and high school. He wanted to punish women. Does this narrative sound a little bit familiar at all? He was diagnosed, like, again, this autism spectrum disorder, a condition on the autism spectrum that leads to problems with social development. He did not meet the criteria to be diagnosed with autism. It helped him receive special education resources. But there's a part that I want to get to. One second. Roger found difficulty forming relationships, chose to spend much of his time alone. He believed women were wrong for rejecting him. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this. I'm not saying, okay, but after Elliot Rodgers in 2014, there was a wave of federal funding from the NIJ that wanted to look into how they can detect behavior like this. How can they see who's giving signs that they will end up being a mass murderer? And if you remember around that time, those situations were happening like every other day, it felt like. Right? You guys remember all those shootings? So I'm going off the top of my head, but this is what I'm working on. And I'm not going to put it all out there. I'm just going to give you guys a little glimpse so if you guys want to look into it. Look into the 2015 funding that started out on the West Coast, specifically WSU. People forget WSU's criminology department has been a top criminology department in the country for decades. Okay. They wanted to figure out how they could tell who these people, who these kids were that could potentially do this. Then in 2017, it turned into using AI and algorithmic type behavior, predictive criminal behavior. So they studied what they did, who they are, how do they think, essentially. Look at Bryan Kohberger's surveys. What did you think before the crime, during the crime, after the crime? I'm sure it's just a coincidence that Professor Ramslin has also researched Elliot Rodgers and talked about him, the loner, incel, mass murderer, right? And I'm sure that a 10-year study that goes in 4 phases of about 2.5 years, that's unrealistic for organizations like the NIJ, the DOJ, the FBI, because they're not ran like any other large corporations that have 5-year plans, 10-year plans, goals that are all set up. Bryan Kohberger's papers are about the justice system. It's not even that hard of a spider web to untangle. I just want to let you know that's what I'm digging into behind the scenes is this funding. And it's going to mind blow people. You finish it off in 2022 in September. So you're going to figure out what is it that these kids thought. Let's use predictive behavior profiling. Then in September of 2022, let's see how crime scene investigators handle psychological stress to violent crime scenes. Then let's put a bow on it. Let's conclude the study with an event. I'm not saying that it's a fake event. I'm just laying this out there how my brain works. Let's conclude the study that allows people with federal funding to have additional and extra resources for a cast net operation. And what does he say? Cast that net far and wide. Once you understand that all of the bodies kept in the closet, hypothetically, all of the dark, nefarious shit comes from federal research grants. Look at our spending. Look at our budget here in the US. Look at what we are federally researching. Look at the money that it goes towards. You can hide so many skeletons in federal research grants. My point in looking into this is that nothing that we are continuing to do, like, again, I'm not hating on it. I've done this. I've done many streams where it's like, oh, I heard a scream here. I look at that car there. It looks different. I mean, shit, look at my stream yesterday. I'm never going to stop doing that. But from getting to the bottom of it and waking people up to what our federal government is able to do, you have to follow the money, truly. So that sounds like it would be hard to pull off. But over the course of 10 years, when you look at what was going on in the country leading up to about 2014, 2015, with all the mass shootings, all of the like lone wolf terror attacks, well, the feds, they're going to give funding to stop that. They're going to research. Why is this happening? Then there's going to come tools along like Palantir that are going to say, we can predict that using AI. So now let's see if we can predict it. And if it were to happen, let's test the psychological stressors of crime scene investigators to see if it matches our predictive programs. Right? And when you read these studies, you'll see how it's a 4-phase thing. And then you'll also see how, why would the feds give funding for research grants if it's not going to end up helping them accomplish their tasks with catching criminals? Of course they're going to use that money. Consider all of that. If it was a corporation, that's R&D dollars. That's research and development, essentially, so that they can end up using it. And there's one more clip that I want to play that when I watch this, hopefully I can find it here. I didn't plan on showing this one. One second. Two seconds here. Okay, listen to this.
social experiment. Did I hear something like this by Officer Blaker? Here in the background, listen. The story was don't say anything, right? And John, the grub truck guy at the end of the live stream.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, everyone has really successfully managed to hit the point where everybody knows what to do and they're doing it well.
Maybe that's why we got all of those contradictions in the Idaho 4. In the Idaho 4 case. Nice car with the sunroof, by the way. The different stories of the neighbors, the private driver.
Hold up.
Nice car with the sunroof, by the way.
Is that the BMW?
With the sunroof, by the way.
Wow. So again, look, I'm at the point, everybody, where my goal is to get answers to this case. My method of doing it is by asking questions and by going down the routes that other people might not, for whatever reasons. I'm going to go down those routes. I want to see what happened. I want to know what happened. I think that we as a public, we should know, like, we're not test subjects, if that's what this is. We're also not idiots that deserve to be lied to as much as we've been lied to in this case. Our intelligence has completely been insulted. It's very obvious. We're being gaslit. We're being shamed for asking these questions. And I don't know about you all. I'm sick of feeling crazy when I know that I'm not. That is a toxic, slippery slope, Hive. And it's not good. We already might be in too deep with this case. The fact that Bryan Kohberger's out here complaining about bananas and cookies and writing complaints and taking plea deals that he has no business taking, as far as evidence shows. The strategy, and also, I'm not trying to be a hater. If this is some sort of strategy, the grand reveal of the chess move, it's got to be elite at this point. It's got to be something that we've never seen before. Because right now, it almost seems like the only people keeping that dream alive is us. And we've looked into it the most. We're like, they had to have known this. There's no way that they don't know this, that they can't tell it's not the same car. We're giving credit to the same people that are a part of the system that damn near got us in this place to begin with. We need, let me back up. Nobody's coming to save us. We are all that we have. Each other, here in the chat. We can have different opinions. We just can't turn against each other. This case, in the whole scope of the world, is it a big deal to us? Yes. In the whole scope of the world, probably not. But it's little things like this that will pile up and end up creating an entire mountain that we're not going to be able to climb because we've let it pile up for so long. So I challenge everybody, speak your mind. If you believe it, speak it to people. Speak it with confidence. And if they question you, question them back. It's okay to have a debate. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have a different opinion than other people that don't know what they're talking about when it comes to this case, because you know that you've looked into it. You know that these documents make no sense. You know that the footage is a bunch of BS. Getting to the bottom of this legally is going to be a very, very long road. A very long road. So in the meantime, let's wake as many people up that we can by pointing out all of these inconsistencies, all of the lies, the contradictions, it's not just special in this case. This is the world that we live in with our media system. We cannot function as a society when our systems in place have a corrupt media saying they're working in a completely different manner than they're supposed to, than what they realistically are. And that's with any system, education system, financial system, government system. Put any system in that place. We need to stick together. Nobody's coming to save us. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. I will be back on tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central. Have a great night. Sleep well, everybody. Crush your day tomorrow. Cheers.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.